Hi, Data Fam. Today I'm going to present another Makeover Monday project from last week. It is the analysis of the Halloween metrics. I have a parameter dropdown per person spend, the buyer percentage, costume buyers. The user has the ability to interact with the dashboard and look at how the trends of these metrics have been doing over the years. Couple of points that I wanted to share is the data preparation and use of dynamic calculations to set my range on the y-axis. If you like what you're seeing and want to build something similar, get stuck in as I take you through the step-by-step process. We have the percentage celebrating tab. It's a spreadsheet with column A as years and the metric on column B. The per person spending, similar to the previous tab, has the year in column A, column B has the per person spending metric. Total spending, similarly, column A has years, total spending metrics in billions in column B. And the consumer spending has three metrics: the percentage of those who are buying costumes, percentage buying candy, percentage buying decorations, and column A has the years. So the top costumes and the shopping locations are something that I intentionally did not work in my analysis. Quick look at how the data is organized. I have brought in the consumer spending sheet as my base table, and I've prepared a relationship using the year with per person spending, person celebrating, and the total spending. One of the coolest features in this viz is the dynamic y-axis. The range dynamically changes based on the choices I've made. But before we get into the nuances, let's understand how the year fields that are now related in the data source can be built into a date type. All I've done is I've done a duplicate of that year field, and in front of it being a number type, I chose date. This is the basis of this date field. And behind the scenes, Tableau has written this function where it's date parsing into a year type and then wrapping the entire thing in a date function. With that date field now ready, I had to right click and drag date into columns and choose continuous years. Then I had a calculated field which is giving the users the option to choose based on a parameter. First things first, I created a parameter which is data type string, gave it a meaningful name, and I put a couple of values based on the metrics that I want to focus on. We have total spend, per person spending, percentage celebrating, candy buyers, costume buyers, and decor buyers. Now, to use that parameter, I've created a calculated field. Case, the parameter we just created, put it in a case when statement block. Now, right click and drag this metric selected and do sum of that metric selected, the newly calculated field, on my rows. Calculation is directly connected to the parameter value, and hence the values respond to the choices made by the user in this parameter. This is 80% of the work done. However, when we look at the candy buy percentage, we saw how it flatlines if we start from 0. If we were to untick this include 0, then the experience is not that good either because it's a jagged line that goes from 95% to 96%. To counter this, I have the upper and the lower thresholds as reference lines. But first, let's look at the formula. This is a formula where I'm taking the window minimum of the minimum value of my metric selected and multiplying it by 80% or 0.8. So I'm going to draw a line which is 80% of the lowest value in my chart. Similarly, my upper limit takes the window max value of the metric selected and multiplies it by 120%. This will allow us some breathing space below and above the range of my chart. And how can I do that? When I bring these two calculated fields into the details, my lower and upper limit, then ensure that the table calculations are running properly based on year of date. Same thing for the upper limit, year of date. Now, right click on the y-axis, select band per table, band from, lower limit, give the minimum, and I do not want to show, and my band 2 will be my upper limit, maximum. Similarly, I do not want to show any tooltip, none. I do not want to show any lines. I do not want to fill anything, and I do not want recalculation. If you do hover over it, you can see that my upper limit of the y-axis has been taken to 115, and the lower limit has been brought down to something around the 75 mark. These two are now my guardrails to ensure that my y-axis is not jagged as it was before. This is how it looks with these upper and lower limits defined. If I remove the upper and lower limits, it will look like a jagged line. With these, now I'm quite confident that no matter what choices I make, drives the chart as well as drives the upper limit and the lower limit. I want to make sure that my trend chart has some context for my users. I want to hide my y-axis. So I want to leave them with certain values so that they can refer to it. Let me drag the metric, the calculated field, to the label shelf. It might get a little busy, so I make sure that I show only the line ends or the min and max values. Either of the choices are fine. It still misses the context. Total spend is in billions. My person spend is a dollar value. The percentages should have a percentage sign. How can I counter that? I created two more calculations. One is the prefix, and that calculated field looks like this. So this returns a true if my parameter has the word spend in it, and it returns false if it doesn't have the word spend. Here are the parameter choices. The only two parameter choices that have spend are total spend and per person spend. And my metric prefix, if I drag that value into the label, you will see that they return a dollar value when spend is selected, and when anything other than a spend is selected, it doesn't return anything, it returns a blank. So what I have done behind the scenes is I've gone ahead and I have made sure that my alias is a blank when it is not a spend value, and my alias is changed to a dollar when it contains the word spend. That's how I dealt with the metrics prefix. Now, very similar idea for the metrics suffix, something that comes after the dollar value. Case, parameter value, when total spend, then use B for billion. When per person spend, then a blank value. Anything else is a percentage. This is the formula that drives the suffix. Now, if I drag this to the label, the suffix, change it around, you will see that there is a percentage showing up for the suffix. As I hover over the tooltips, you can see these values as well. This is the final result. I have the prefix, the metric calculated value, and the metric suffix, neatly organized into something that looks like this. Nice, dynamic, parameter-based trend. Hope you find this helpful. Thanks.